Warning. Pro Tri News is a podcast with different opinions, knowledge, and possibly fake news about triathlon racing. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and some stories may be dramatized for comedic effect. Enjoy.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Pro Tri News. I'm your host, Kyle Glass, joined by Talbot Cox, Pat Lemieux, Mark Matthews, and a very special guest, best photographer in triathlon, James Mitchell.
Thank you, Kyle.
How you doing today?
Comfortably the best.
Comfortably the best. I also have to admit something before we get started into the show. We're trying to work out how to get this to work for 3 people in one location, with me, Mark, and James being together. And Mark bested me in some audio stuff and got my computer to work so that we can hear everyone without having headphones on. So
Just in an unrelated topic, what do you do for a living?
audio visual. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So Talbot, how you doing?
I mean, I'm already back home. I already went to a fireplace shop this morning. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you ever wanted to get like a cast in place mantle, it's only like $5-6 grand, no big deal.
Oh God.
I was denied for the second time by insurance, so at least
So
I had
what
a
are you
fun
gonna
time
do
in
now? Are
Germany.
you gonna fight him again?
No, I'm just gonna have Pat go whore me out to all of his athletes and make a bunch of money from all their sponsors.
Simple, yeah.
There you go.
To be fair, mate,
It's the only thing I know what to do. So
it's worked for the last 10 years. Why change?
Yeah, exactly.
Zach, how are you doing? You raced this weekend.
Yeah, I did I'm in Milwaukee at my in-laws house, and we've got U.S. Masters National Championships that have been on all week. So Gwen did her Masters National Criterium on Saturday. I did mine on Sunday, and then I just got back in the door because Gwen did her Masters National Road Race this morning. She was 4th, and then I've got my road race tomorrow. So super convenient that they place nationals where my in-laws live. So we've got built-in help, and they've got a 2-year contract. So we will be back here next year. So I was 8th place on Sunday. Hope to be a little bit better tomorrow. And I really wanted to come on the pod today wearing the shirt. So I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. So hopefully for next week's episode, I got a fresh shirt.
I got to be honest. When you said up that they got a 2-year contract, I thought you meant you're giving your in-laws a 2-year contract.
No, they're on that's an evergreen contract. It just auto renews every year.
Okay.
Well, let's chat about the big race that happened this weekend. Obviously, IRONMAN Frankfurt had way more fireworks than we had even imagined. If you weren't able to tune into the race, we'll give you a brief rundown in 60 seconds or less. So basically, the race started. It was one of the most stacked starts we've ever had at a race outside of a world championship. Leading out of the first lap of the swim was Jonas Schoenberg, and then he kept the pedal down through the first bits of the bike, and then unfortunately his bike started falling apart, and he tossed it into the bush, and then the Dutch? No. Oh, Deutsch.
German.
The Deutsch official came up to him and was like,
It could have been.
"Oh man, you can't ride like that." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "You can't ride like that. You have to stop right now." And so he stopped. Kristian Blummenfelt came through. He had a massive procession, basically lead bike, lead vehicle, and then a couple other bikes. Put down an amazing bike split. Came off the bike with about a 9-minute lead, and then was eventually ran down after a series of penalties, disqualifications, requalifications. And then in the end, Kristian Blummenfelt won the race. Kristian Blummenfelt was 2nd. And then 3rd place went to Casper Storms. So that's how the race played out. What was your guys' original thoughts?
Should we start early in the race and work our way through with thoughts?
Yeah.
First, right before we start, for those of you who haven't visited the race, it's so funny. This is why I need to quit commenting about races nearly. It's kind of a nightmare to train there ahead of the race. And Patrick Lang, seasoned pro, stayed out at the lake, so out of the city. So if you're in the city, I just come in knowing that you've gotten all your training done. James can probably speak to this a bit more. It's hard to record athletes there, get any media. So what would you say, James? Get all your training done before, hey?
Frankfurt is because it's in a city, it's a logistical nightmare. The lake's so far away. to go out riding on your bike. It's out in the countryside, which is another 10K. You got to negotiate through traffic pre-race and that kind of thing. A few athletes had the turbo trainers in the rooms just to keep topped up on their training. But yeah, it's to get around and shoot media and content. It's you found out for the first time, didn't you, Tal? That this weekend,
I did. I definitely did.
We've done 3 or 4 years, Will, my colleague, and I, and we've kind of almost sussed the logistics for this race to get around pre-race.
I will say though, spectating this race, the run course is mental with 4 loops, 10K loops. You're shooting that, all that. I mean, it was for the athlete and the race day experience, phenomenal.
I mean, you could see the athletes. Like, I basically just jump bridges all day, and so I could see the athletes 8 times throughout the course of the race, which is insane.
Yeah, that's a lot. Because let's face it, like supporting Ironman live, and I hope Kat doesn't listen to this, is really boring normally. Yeah. Like, unless you're going a bit of road driving, which I've been known to do, often you might see people twice on the bike, twice on the run.
Yeah.
Unless you're prepared to get a bike and stuff. So a course like that really works. And Frankfurt does have this, like it's I would say it's Ironman's premier event outside of the World Champs.
Yeah, 100%.
I think so.
I'm kind of shocked. Like, I was thinking about this during the race. Like, I was honestly kind of shocked that race didn't get to be World Champs instead of Nice. But it was probably just like logistically, it was probably just easier to do it in Nice.
It also would have seemed a bit like a direct attack on Roth, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And Ironman are quite good actually at avoiding, and like Scott Giroux's coming to Roth to meet with people and that sort of stuff. So, like, I think maybe that would have been a bit of a direct attack. So into the race, I think the first person to talk about is surely Jonas Schomburg.
Yeah, he was mental.
Right. So an absolutely incredible start to the bike. That is, like, to put 2 minutes into those guys is crazy power. He had a bike mechanical, which I think someone else has had quite similar. It's the through bolts, isn't it, that go through through his riser, and one of those that came loose. I thought personally a brilliant bit of refereeing to telling me he has to stop. I think that's a referee's job as much as it is to give penalties, is to ensure safety to athletes. So the referee coming up to him, because the athlete's not making smart, safe decisions. That's not their job, right? I thought the ref was bang on right to tell him he had to stop.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I do think it's true. I wrote in our group, and I'm sorry, Jonas, if you're saying this, but if you're 2 meters tall and you're riding a small frame, it's probably time to upgrade the frame.
With a single riser as well. Like, the tension going through, those bolts must be 150 mil more.
Well, it was just like he went over the cobbles, and that's when it...
Because you have the leverage on the end of the pole going through that back bolt. It's just a huge amount of force.
After the race, I talked to Jonas, and he was like, he understand. He was like, yeah, it was a little dangerous because the pole was like right there at my chest.
Yeah.
Good decision. But it's a real shame because, I mean, I think he could have gone a long while solo, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But before we move on, go for it, James. Go for it, James.
Sorry. Yeah, he was suggesting when I bumped into you guys post race outside the hotel there, and he's such a young strong athlete. I reckon he think he could done 120K just with the drops. But I did say to him, I did ask him actually, what happened to the bars in the end? He said his dad went looking for them in a bush, and someone stolen them and took his Garmin along with it. So whoever's got that, please return the Garmin.
Oh, that is brutal.
Jeez. And then he did go down to Radsport here in Germany, and he's getting sorted out to race this weekend in Ross. So
nice.
But before we move on from that, we do need to go back to the swim, because I think that for so long we have always said you can just be a mediocre swimmer in ITU and make the front pack at any Ironman event. And I just think that those days are over. When you see the likes of Lionel Sanders, Sam Long, Trevor Foley, they are going further and further backwards. It's not because they're not working on their swim. It's due to the fact that the swim is elevating so much and so fast. And you look at Kristian, who has been, he's a phenomenal swimmer, but you get the likes of Jamie Riddle, Jonas, and all that, and they are pushing the swim so hard. So hard in the fact that we had dinner the other night, and someone told us that Josh Amberger was really annoyed in Cairns because you got Jamie who's out there just swimming backstroke, turning around, screwing around. They catch up, and then Jamie just puts in a massive surge and just drops everyone. Then he turns back around. He's just swimming backstroke and all that. And so it's just Josh Amberger is a phenomenal swimmer, and then you get the likes of all these superpowers. I mean, is this just the new age of sport now?
I think it's like someone said this earlier. I think it's because there's less breakup on the bike now because, and we'll come on to it a bit with Magnus Ditlev, so many athletes are now actually dialed. They are aerodynamically dialed. The kit is much more level than it used to be, that you can't rely on the bike to break it up anymore quite like you could, especially still at 10, 12 meters in Ironman. So I think they have to find the advantages where they can. And the swimming is one where a couple of the guys that can win it, like Kristian, is a slight weakness of his. Not a big one, but it's one of the few areas you could exploit him. So yeah, I think it's just people taking advantage of anything they can.
And you look at, like, I mean, pretty much every Ironman that Kristian's done, he's been pretty close to the front of the race. And in this one, it was kind of like he was split up from the group, which is just a testament to Jonas coming over from short course and being able to push that swim. There was 9 guys in that front swim group at the end. So pretty interesting. Most notable was Kristian Hogenhaug being in that front group. I don't think that he's ever been in that front group.
His swim has improved so much. And we saw a really good swim from him in Texas. He was maybe only a minute off the back. So it's coming along. And I know he is in phenomenal shape. He'll say it himself.
Yeah.
And that swim was unbelievable for him. Like, makes him dangerous.
Yeah. So, phenomenal.
Someone that had kind of a shocker of a swim, Cam Werf. He said that if he overthinks a swim, we caught up with him after the race, but he pretty much said when he overthinks a swim is when he has bad swims, and when he underthinks it is when he has good swims. So it sounds like Cam's not going to think about swims anymore.
I would go as to argue is, I know this sounds insane to think about, Cam had one of the most impressive results on the entire day. He did that Ironman solo from start to finish. And I know that sounds weird, but he swam 100% solo by himself. His fault. He biked solo and only rode like 2 minutes slower than Kristian. And then, of course, you run solo. But if swim gets, I mean, Cam went from swimming front pack in Oceanside to having one of his worst swims of his entire career. So I think he can turn that around, just maybe one of those weekdays. But yeah.
When are we going to talk about? Can we get to what I feel is kind of the elephant in the room with this race, specifically the bike?
Was there an elephant in the room?
I'll start with it, and the reason why I think a lot of people know that I was critical about the drafting behind the lead moto, and I gotta tip my hat because Ironman has been absolutely phenomenal. We even had a shot taken at us from Kelly Omar at Feisty Triathlon, who said, you can't complain about the coverage and complain about motos on course. And I completely disagree with that. And here's why. We haven't had a problem with lead vehicles, to my knowledge, almost all year. I mean, Ironman has been absolutely phenomenal. So we caught up with Jonas, and I asked Jonas, and it's very simple. Go hop on the Ironman tracker. Jonas came out of the water, and Jonas was accelerating extremely fast. And I said, Jonas, be honest. And he said, what? I said, how much of a draft are you getting? And he was like, it was quite a bit. But it's funny because Jonas is leaving everyone in the dust. And then the second Jonas has a mechanical, Kristian gets to the front. And to be fair, Kristian put in a very big surge. Casper even tried to go with him and said, I can't even go with him. He's put in such a big surge. And Jonas hit that front moto. And let's just hypothetically say 5% of the time he was getting a moto draft. Just that alone will slingshot you that much more forward. I mean, that's so.
Certainly true. Like, we know there's a draft effect and that he will have definitely got some. 2 things there. One, don't let an athlete like Kristian Hogenhaug go if you think there's a moto fear. There's always a moto fear. Don't let a strong rider go. You can't.
But Ironman's been incredible about it.
Really, really, really good. They've been
Better.
Like, they've improved it so much. The other one is in their last 4 Ironman races, Kristian Hogenhaug has outridden Cam Werf in 3 of them. and he only put 2 minutes into Camworth in this race. And he outrode him in Hawaii last year, and he outrode him in Vitoria-Gasteiz last year by 4 minutes, for instance. So he is very capable of riding an extremely, extremely fast bike leg, as we know. It may be 7 minutes, not 9 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, not 9 minutes. But he will have led off the bike without those motos, I think. And I think he would still have got second.
100%. I'm not saying it dictated the race, but what I am saying it will dictate is future discussion behind closed doors that would say whether it's coming from the chief official or the director of the races, it says we can't have what happened in Frankfurt happen again.
I mean, they tried to address it during the race. They threw Kristian Hogenhaug a bullshit penalty to make sure the favorite child, Kristian Blummenfelt, won anyway, right?
Well, no, wait. Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that later.
Joking. That's not what happened, it was a bullshit penalty.
I joked with Jonas and I said, what did you feel it the most? And he said, well, there's a lot. Every time you were coming into a turn, they would really break. And so when you'd accelerate out of a turn, he goes, they were like right in front of you.
For sure.
He said, but also when that camera would get on my side, it would get 1 meter away from me. And that's when I felt like I had the biggest pull, which I thought was interesting. Well, maybe not.
Because all data shows that a bike riding alongside you slows you down unless you're in a crosswind.
Really?
That's why the sub-8 thing, they didn't use cars to ride up alongside them or bikes, because when you put a bike or a car alongside an athlete, it actually slows them down. Unless there's a crosswind. So Kona is the one where that's really bad for.
Yeah.
So if they're filming from the side in Kona and they're blocking the crosswind, that is like massive advantage. But yeah, I mean, he no doubt got some drag from that.
And also, too, to be fair, at a few of those camera angles, Kristian went like this, like, hey, kind of back away. Like, this is not athlete's fault.
I want to be very clear. I'm not throwing shade at Kristian Hogenhaug. It's a reminder for the Ironman crew to not let this happen this is a very high stakes race that happened this weekend. Don't let it happen at the two biggest ones coming up.
Yeah.
It's quite surprising, actually, because the last couple of races, I mean, Media Motors do an incredible job. There's no doubt about that. And it surprised me, actually, when, because I missed the beginning of the bike. I'd forgot my earphones and I tuned in quite late, and I saw these comments about the potential drafting off the motos. I'm pretty sure the last couple of races, the motos have sat behind like they would do in professional cycling. So I don't know if it was the nature of the course or something else where they couldn't sit behind for some reason. I don't know. I've not checked in with the boys from Media Motos, but it'd be interesting to find out. But I think it's also a better angle from behind where you can see what's going off in front, be that from the first cyclist or behind the second cyclist going forward. I think is a better look to see for the viewer. Anyway.
So I think that's enough, because I think Kristian Hogenhaug deserves plaudits rather than shade, and I get why you're raising it, Talbot. I'm not saying that.
I just want to be clear. Kristian Blummenfelt is a phenomenal rider, and I mean, I don't know. No, Kristian Blummenfelt.
He's a pack rat. He's a pack rat. He can never call Patrick Langer a pack rat. He's a dirty little pack rat that only wins races sitting in and then running to the win.
Magnus Ditlev, I think we could all agree he's pretty decent on a bike, pretty aero. The fact that he was making those guys look like they're out on a pleasure ride and he was the only one racing. I mean, it's either like he's one of the favorites that was going to come off with a massive lead with Sam Laidlow and Nice, or Magnus is ass at the bike. Like Magnus is trash.
Who are we talking about?
I'm talking about Kristian Hogenhaug making Magnus Ditlev like he needs to go get a bike coach and maybe do some aero testing, because he made him look like a pedestrian.
I think Kristian Hogenhaug is more aero than Magnus Ditlev now because he's shorter. They've caught up with Magnus's advancements in tech. Kristian Hogenhaug is an unbelievable rider. Unbelievable. He came second in Frankfurt like 4 years ago, having took a 7-minute lead or something off the bike then.
I think he's top 5 rider.
I do
in the sport.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. But yeah, can we go back to Kristian Blummenfelt being still pack
Magnus put in a couple surges on the bike, and they were able to answer all of them.
I'm only winding Kristian Blummenfelt up, who will listen to this, because he has definitely thrown shade at Patrick Langer in the past, and that's 2 Frankfurts in a row where he has not sniffed the wind.
That's fair.
Come on, Talbot, you slag off Patrick Langer for being a pack rat.
Hold on.
What is Kristian Blummenfelt in this race if he is not a pack rat?
to defend Kristian.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. 2 years ago, we argued with Kristian and Gustav. We said, hey, would you guys be willing to raise your hand to move to 20 meters for this race? And Kristian's like, we only trained for 12. We only trained for 12. We've had this discussion before. If it was 20 meters, they trained for 20 meters. If it's 12, they train for 12. The interesting thing, though, is Patrick Lang was exposed here because if you put on enough pressure and you pop that band, Patrick got out. Not only Patrick, but a lot of athletes. I mean, these guys are riding some insane bike power, some insane bike power. And so Patrick Lang, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think if he comes off in that front group, he's challenging Kristian for the win.
Yeah, but the thing that we always say, and Pat is the best for reminding us, we can't learn anything about Patrick Langer from this race because it's not the World Championships or Texas.
Yep.
Like, I don't expect anything from him outside of those races, really.
I had a chance to catch up with Julia ahead of the race. I'm sure James did too. She said that he did not have the run training going into this race, remotely near the run training that he usually has going into a race. So, I mean, I'm a little scared if I'm the athletes and I saw that's what Patrick was able to get out of getting dropped from the group. I mean, because he will be there in Nice. So
he's a light athlete. He does climb well. He came second at Nice last time round. You know,
So it's not like he's bad at that course.
No. It's definitely not time to start writing Patrick Langer off for another world title. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah, and I think it's a coin flip on the weather. Certainly in Nice, it's closer to the front of September 14th. We could have a day that's 21 and sunny, or we could have a day that's 34 and sunny. Like if it's a hot one in Nice, running up and down that the beachfront, I think anything is game on and available for Patrick there.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to Gustav. We got to cover Gustav too.
And we got to cover some penalties.
Well, we got to get to the run. We're still on the bike.
Okay.
Coming to transition. Basically, Cam Wirth blitzes the back end, the last half a K on the bike to come out. Has an amazing T2, comes out of transition third place.
That's pretty impressive.
But so Kristian Hogenhaug runs out of transition.
Yep.
And that's when
a new cheat code was unlocked in Ironman.
Oh, it's wonderful. Now, I've heard that Casper, who is a friend of Magnus Ditlev's, does some pro coaching, works a lot with Magnus. He is very clearly on camera running 3 steps alongside
3 or 4. It might have been called a double dribble in the NBA. You think?
Definitely not in the WNBA.
Not.
But it's a joke. It's a joke. I don't watch either. So, yeah, it was pathetic. It was a pathetic call, even if that was his coach. But it's not his coach. It's like me doing it to Laura Phillip and the referee giving Laura a penalty. But Casper has said on a different podcast, apparently his coach also did it and later on. We don't know that. We didn't see that. Possibly offsetting a bit of blame. Casper's the nicest kid in the world. I very much doubt that's what it is. But what was shown as the penalty was Casper taking 4 steps. And apparently Kristian's coach at best did the same. It's just not necessary. Like, he's winning a race by miles. It's such pedantic refereeing. I don't think it falls within the spirit of the law, even if it's within the... I'm super scared of it because I got Cat 1 called once in Florida.
I was scared because someone said Magnus is disqualified, and I thought it was because I gave Magnus a split because I was like standing still. And I'm like, that's the rules. It's like, as long as both feet are planted on the ground, you can give athletes splits. That's always been the rule.
Yeah.
In that same interview that Casper gave, he did mention, he said, it is unfair because you could do that to every athlete, couldn't you, down the line?
I was just
about to say. I texted this to Casper. Casper sent me the video of what he got, of what the penalty was called for. And I said to him, I go, Casper, I said, don't worry. I'm just going to do that to everybody in front of Magnus and Nice. Don't worry about it. And he goes, I never thought of that. And I go, clearly nobody else has either, because I'm like, this is just, I go, it is what they need to, they need to have a little bit of a recalibration here and go, okay, because I get emails from Ironman because of who I look after and represent. They need to have very clear understanding of who we represent. And if you watch me during a race, I do not, when I speak to any of my clients, my 2 feet are firmly planted on the ground and I'm never moving, but they need to make sure I could go and mess up somebody else's race. And so the official that's making these calls needs to be certain, and then they also need to document the situation on who they're doing this for. Otherwise, hold on, no, let me finish. Otherwise, this will get wildly out of hand, and they will lose control of this situation, and it will get ruined for all of us trying to spectate these races. So this is one that Jimmy needs to finally lead on and make a very clear and concerted message about how they're going to patrol this moving forward. Otherwise, this will get out of hand.
It's very simple. Of the whole group moving forward, there's essentially 2 people that can't stop, which is the athlete and maybe the first place, second place bike people. So one person can't stop. That's the official. The official should have stopped right there and said, who are you? What's your association with him? Are you aware that he can get a penalty? And go on. Like,
correct.
The official should have stopped instead of jumping, getting all hyped and going up the ford. We did get a message, though, from B. Joe 1976, and he said, you effing idiots repeat so much on the podcast that they don't hand out penalties in Europe. Now they're handing out all the penalties in Frankfurt because of you guys.
True, by the way.
That's not okay. That's a misinterpretation of what we're calling here.
My donation to the German Triathlon Federation went through. That's all I got to worry about.
I thought we were hating on T100's officials.
No, it is fair. We do make jokes about it. So there weren't any drafting penalties called. There were
no drafting penalties.
Yeah, so that's the one we always.
Not a single drafting penalty.
Talbot's right on this, and I don't think we should harp on, because this has been known. I've talked about running alongside athletes, giving them splits to deliberately get penalties for years. No one does it because there aren't that many arseholes in the sport, and it would be super brazen, because what you would essentially have to do is pay someone or find a friend that no one knows to go out and do it. Talbot's solution is absolutely right. The first time it happens, especially if it's 4 steps,
and especially in a world championship,
all the referee does is stops and tells the supporter, because what advantage have they actually gained from 4 steps? 0. So it's not worth the penalty in the first place. Don't do that again. Who are you? Write this down, and then we carry on. Because you can't put it on register, because it doesn't stop me just hiring a mate of mine from old army mate to come and do it. So the register, nothing like that works. It's just a simple case of the referee not going. I almost used a real German phrase there. Not being overzealous with something and just handing out the penalty straight away.
Can we talk about Kristian real quick? If I'm Kristian,
which one?
Kristian Hogenhag. If I'm Kristian, I'm telling him I'm not stopping.
Yeah, but then you get disqualified like Magnus did.
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say I'll protest it at the end. That's my competitor's coach. That's our friend. That has nothing to do with me.
This was an improper penalty called on Kristian Hogenhag. It was improper.
Let's move to the more insane penalty, though. If you haven't watched, we shared it, or Slow Twitch shared it. I think we might have collaborated with them. It was Magnus Ditlev running. He goes to throw ice in his cap, and he's out of the aid station. It falls, it misses, and he's not aware, and he keeps running, and the paper cup fell down his back, and the official rolls up, blows a whistle, and shows him a red card and says, you've been disqualified from the race.
That's not quite what happened.
But that was before that was he threw a cup.
No, so what happened was he got given a 1-minute penalty. He told the referee he wasn't taking it. I'm sorry, I'm not taking it. And then because he refused to take the penalty, the referee disqualified him. That's what happened. You can hear it in the audio. Sorry, that is what happened.
So
why did he get a 1-minute penalty?
Because they said but the issue is that they handed ice out last in line. Yeah. When you come through And so he's saying it takes he goes, what you want is the ice first because that takes the longest to get set up. But they handed the ice last. And then not to mention on a day when it's extreme temperatures like this, they're effectively like in cycling, when it's extreme temperature days, they open up the feed zones and they open up the litter zones because they know you're going to be going through way more stuff. So to have a line that's fixed on a day when they've got to have all this much more material going back into them, they should have added an abundance of time on the back end of what was the
and in
litter
fairness
zone.
to him as well, the litter zone sort of finished before a bridge, and then straight after it there was tents and a first aid zone, and it very much looked like it just carried on through. Like,
well, there were still like there were porta potties after it, you know. So
yeah,
I again, we've used the word too many times now, so we're overusing it. But that was pedantic, and it was the wrong call, and it was a judgment error, I think, on understanding the situation.
But he refused to take 1 minute. Where so if Kristian Hogenhaug had refused to take 1 minute and he'd been disqualified, he would have been disqualified. Would we be defending it? Yes, because we now know it was not his coach. Like, he got caught on a pedantic penalty. I think the lesson should be part of it. Part of it's a learning lesson for Ironman. The other learning lesson is Magnus should have taken the penalty because he risked getting DQ'd. He got very lucky he wasn't disqualified, I feel, because the ref was being over the top. It was ridiculous. It was pedantic. It was not the right call. I'm not arguing that. He just came so close to getting disqualified over a 1 minute penalty.
So I think that's the hard thing to understand, right? Is like that there's this appeal process that can happen after the fact, and it really opens up a can of worms. Forget the fact that it's Magnus in this situation, but what can of worms does it open now for Ironman that they've undone a disqualification mid-race? And I think that's like the greater issue is like
it's massive because we were very totally clear. Also, too, you got to.
We're very
totally clear.
We're clearly told. You did a transatlantic flight over the weekend. We forgive you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, if you recall, Lionel in Finland was racing the whole time he crossed the center line and was disqualified. It was a no debate protest at the end of the race. Like, it was a no debate. But also, too, you have to tip your hat to Magnus. Although he says he let it affect him, we don't see this too much where someone is disqualified in a race and to keep going. I know that mentally it messed with his head and stuff, but Magnus could have been an athlete, a victim of, I'm disqualified, and just stopping. Like right there, just completely stopping and saying, I'm done. So I walk off course. So I know he didn't get the result he wanted. I know there's probably some mental aspect to it, but hats off to him for continuing to push on when being disqualified. And you got to say, we learned that lesson from we learned that lesson from Lionel, and we saw it again with you think you're forgetting about it, but you got to remember Sam Laidlow was disqualified at Vitoria-Gasteiz last year, and they gave him a slot to the World Championship.
Can I just make a statement? And this is not me just waking up and on the wrong side of the bed and deciding to be a pain in the ass. I think the officiating in Frankfurt was a complete disaster. And I think if there's not a internal audit on how to fix this, the sport is in jeopardy, and these situations are really in jeopardy of exposing it to become a total farce. And I think that they've opened the box a little bit on it just being a complete runaway train here. And so they need to have, because look, they've gone back on the bike rules that they came out super harshly with very little clarity on. They've recanted on all that. They've recanted on these penalties that are happening mid-race. They've frankly given people the wrong penalties in race. Who is steering the ship here on how to.
Let's not forget about Zippergate. Zippergate.
So I just named the 3 things this year though that I think that have been a complete debacle. And now we're coming into the 2 world championships plus 70.3 worlds. Get a grip on this and figure out how to move forward in a clear, direct way. And stop.
I'm really bored of talking about referee. We spent most of the show talking about referees.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I don't know what else to say. It's like, guys, get it together.
James.
I think just going on the other podcast, JK actually did mention about the referee should be kind of de-escalating the situation, being the calming voice, which I thought was a very good point. And I think there was, I don't know, maybe there was, I wasn't there, so I mean, there's maybe a little aggressive tone, and obviously people's heart rates are up, and or athletes' heart rates are up, and there's a lot of tension in the air. I think the referees need to really
de-escalate,
really like calm down, explain properly, you know. Difficult situation.
I think the ultimate problem is there is now too much money on the line, because that disqualification, now he's not going to win the Pro Series this year because Kristian Blummenfelt was absolutely flying, but that actually had the potential to be a $250,000 decision.
Yeah,
like that's what we're talking about now, you know, and that's too much to have, you know, a lax set of rules at Ironman. Like, I think it's happy to call them lax. We don't understand what's going on. And
but the problem, the laxness of them is what provides the opportunity to come in with a credible rebuttal in the event of a disqualification.
Correct.
Because there's no fucking clarity to the rules. And so you can come in with a case and wedge it wide open and say there's no clarity for this, and that's the issue. And so they want to keep being vague at best. But if we can, it's not even exploiting them. It's just finding a way to refute what they're saying. And frankly, like I'm getting exhausted. And the Kristian Hogenhaug penalty is what just completely cracks me. Imagine if in the women's race in Kona, somebody that's on the other side of the team of Kat Matthews or Taylor Knibb decides to do to one of those two what happened with Casper and Kristian Hogenhaug. I will lose my shit. And that's where I'm completely exhausted from this.
Just to defend Ironman real quick, okay? We got to remember we've had a lot of Ironman events this year, and we've had a bunch of fair racing. This last race was a nightmare, so I think they're able to single it down. But let's also remember too, one of the most tweeted names during the NBA Finals was Scott Foster, who was completely favoriting the Oklahoma City Thunder. It is sport. It's unfortunate. It's not like it was just biased towards the German athletes, because you got Jonas that was disqualified. I think this was just maybe, we don't know who exactly was officiating, maybe just the German Federation. Ironman does a very good job at the World Championships. I don't think we need to throw our toys out of the pram. I think that this will be sorted.
So, land the plane.
Right. 2 things. Talbot, it's nice that you discovered the sport of basketball. That's good. And Pat, you swore twice there. And this is a family-friendly podcast with children tuning in. So get a fucking grip, would you?
Sorry. I'm like, I wrote in the comments, I'm like, don't piss me off today. I'm like, this is not the day.
Can we just make sure, if you're listening and you're near Pat during a World Championship, and Lionel, Magnus, Cat, any of them get a penalty, just turn your camera on and aim it at Pat, so we can make sure it's caught on film.
You'll see an iPhone turned into a frisbee, is what you'll see.
Well, we did not. There was another penalty that was not televised.
Patrick Lang?
No, you won't have seen it. I don't think you saw it either. It was. I think Talbot got a red card for using his camera in auto.
We don't tell anyone that. James, we don't tell anyone that. You know what's funny about that is that people actually think that I'm joking when I say that I do shoot an auto, and I actually do shoot an auto. In the middle of the race, I handed my camera to James. He goes, "Is this an auto?" Making a joke. And he looked down and he goes, "It is."
Oh, a little bit of photography buns from the pod as well. I love it. Yeah, Patrick Langer served a penalty in transition. Yeah, there was all sorts. But anyway,
Did he serve it in transition?
yes, that counts. It was a penalty. We've done too much on refereeing. I don't want to talk about any more penalties. Kristian Blummenfelt was an absolute masterclass to take the win. He was patient. He was by far the best runner. He looked like he just played games in the end and just turned it on when he needed to. In the end, he won by 2.5 minutes, which is completely ridiculous. Hogan Haug ran really well.
Yeah.
Like that was off a bike like that, solo the whole day. Because even if you've got the bike, whatever, you're still pushing constant power on your own off the front after a PB swim. Magnificent performance. And Kasper Stornes is a threat. He ran with Kristian Blummenfelt for a very long time. Now, Kyle, talk to us about the return of Gustav Iden.
I talked to him at the finish line. I said, Gustav, are you back? And he just smiled at me. And then we were joking again later on at night. And I was like, are you going to dust off the lucky hat for Nice? And he's like, I'm thinking about it. So Gustav, I believe, is back. And over the next 8-ish weeks, we'll find out come Nice what kind of form he's in.
Because you can do a lot in 8 weeks as well. If your trajectory is as good as it has been for Gustav so far.
Think about where he was at in Texas and then now where he's at now. Like, I honestly believe that Gustav is back.
Right. Anyone got anything else on the race that was Frankfurt?
Yeah, I was on the wheel filming Kasper and Kristian running together, Kristian Blummenfelt running together. They were like running in sync. Stride was in sync. And then Kristian Blue, he just put the hammer down. It looked like he was sprinting.
Yeah.
That's the speed he was going. I sent a video to Aaron at IRONMAN of how smooth he looked, but how fast he looked.
Yeah.
In the press conference after, actually, Kasper said Blue kept playing with his shoe or going like he thinks it was mind games to make it look like he was cramping or something like this, and then Blue just
he's operating on a different planet. I make the Pat Rat jokes just to annoy him. I don't really think it's true. I think if he wants to ride solo, he's well strong enough to do it. Right now, do we all agree he's the shoe-in favorite for Nice?
Yeah, he's earned those odds, right?
Yeah.
I think after Texas, what we saw there, in person, and then what we saw this weekend, what you guys got to see in Frankfurt. I mean, you're witnessing one of the greats be great at what he does, and it's truly a pleasure to watch him. He looks really good.
He's leaner.
Is
he leaner?
Oh, we're not talking about people's weight.
No, we can talk about weight.
No,
we're not putting negative connotations
he's
on
a
it.
lot leaner.
He looks really great from head to toe. I mean, what can you say across all three? I think.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Blummenfelt Langer showdown in Nice on the run course. I think.
Yeah,
That would be great, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
The good, the good thing is that because I was looking back at the results and I was thinking, if I get all these guys disqualified, so Lionel can win the world championship. The good thing about it is the Nordic countries are doing so good, so you could probably just learn one of the languages. So if I learned like you're in first place in Norway, I could just run next to the athletes and be like, "Go da da da, go da da da," and tell them they're in first place, and then French.
You learn Japanese by accident.
Yeah. It says "Du er pas fos place." That's what it says in Norway. So if I could just learn that, and I'll just run next to all the athletes, get them all disqualified, Lionel wins the world title.
Perfect.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be so fired up about that, but it is something that does deeply concern me that they're not going to have direct, clear position on moving forward. That is,
I think it needed saying because the constant gripe around Ironman, their events are brilliant. The Pro Series is brilliant. Their media's got to be brilliant now. The broadcast is improving. The constant gripe is rules and regulations. So I think it needed saying. So yeah, don't apologize.
Can I dunk on Iron Man one more time?
Oh, Kyle, Delbert, you've been off the blacklist for so long. Come on.
I know, but I just got to say it.
Don't buy the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm sorry. I just have to say this. Ironman Europe puts on a masterclass compared to North American events.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference, the level. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just there's more fans there or what, the level of production.
Well,
It's
you're not
insane.
listening to Aerosmith and Taylor Swift and at the swim start. You're listening to freaking EDM
I mean,
music.
dude, but seriously, everything they do at Ironman Europe is just phenomenal.
Mate,
Yeah.
Kyle and Scott DeRue were bouncing around on the swim start. I mean,
Me and Scott were raving.
I
It
mean,
was
it's crazy. But I mean, we do step it up. I mean, North America puts on the greatest show in triathlon in Hawaii, so that doesn't count. But outside of that, dude, the Ironman Europe team absolutely kills it on putting on events. So
And the Ironman Oceania team.
Carl's got to say it now. He's bought and paid for.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, we've talked about everything, the course, the broadcast. You guys like the broadcast? We had picture in picture.
It was good.
You watched it?
Yeah, I watched a chunk of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
was good?
I don't think it's worth laboring on. Yeah.
What you got, Talbot?
I was just going to say, if you haven't noticed, if you've tuned out of watching the broadcast because you've been upset, tune in again because they do have the race running on the right side of the screen while they're showing ads. So
Yeah, it's much better.
much better.
You want to do a grade for the race? I'd give it an A.
I mean,
The refs those decisions do drag it down a little bit, so it's not like an A+.
Yeah.
But the field they assembled there, because
Yeah.
of the Pro Series, A+ field, right?
Yeah.
Broadcast good, course good, race exciting. It's still an A even with those things. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cam Worth raised a good point. He said, let me ask you guys this. If there was a T100 event going on this weekend, would you even tune in or would you just be watching Frankfurt?
Frankfurt.
Yeah, that
Frankfurt.
I mean, it is.
Well, it could be T100 dual screen.
Dual
it's a fair,
screen.
Oh, I've got my hands in both pockets.
He's just remembered he works for T100 as well and backtrack.
Nah, it's not that. It's just that it was such
Postman.
good. It was such good racing with such a high caliber field. And I honestly, I don't know if there's anyone else in the world that can compete at this level. I think that this will be the copy paste for the World Championship. I mean, we'll see where Sam Laidlow's at in Roth, but I mean, I think that it's this same field that's competing for the World Championship.
Yeah. Fair.
Right.
All right.
Well,
Chapeau of the race. You wanted
right.
that.
Oh yeah, I introduced the chapeau, so I'm going to go first on this one. It's Kristian Hogenhaug, because that is such a step up in his run, his swim. Let's forget the bike, despite the fact he had a 9-minute lead. All right, let's give him 2 minutes for moto. It's 3 minutes. Even if he had a 5-minute lead off the bike on Ditlev, for me, it's the standout performance of the day.
Hey, if you give him a 5-minute lead on the bike, be careful because then you're talking about a Norwegian sweep on the podium. We saw that in Bermuda once.
It's annoying because that's what he had, because that's the race he was dealt. He was phenomenal.
Dude, he killed it.
Yeah, so that's my chapeau of the week. James?
Chapeau of the week. Go to Carl first.
Mine's got to be Gustav Eden. I mean, you look at where he was at the beginning of the season, even rewind 12 months ago. This is a version 2.0 of Gustav Eden that we haven't seen before. I'm so pumped to see what he does over the next 8 weeks, and I really hope that he just goes all in and he's like, we'll see what happens in Nice.
Yeah.
So Gustav Eden for me is chapeau of the week. He rode great, swam great, and ran as good as we've seen him run in a long time.
James?
I'm with you, Mark. Kristian Hogenhaug, incredible race. It's a shame we just had that little bit of a penalty. Would that have changed the outcome? We don't
Giving him
know.
a little edge, yeah, maybe.
But yeah, good to see him up there.
And
definitely.
I say it too often. What sort of a bloke is he?
He's just one of the nicest blokes. The Danish are.
Yeah. Pat?
chapeau of the week to everyone's handlebar bolts that stayed together.
I'm gonna tip my hat to Cam Worth because comes out of the water, though I would definitely say the worst swim of his career. Came out of the water 8 minutes down.
Jeez.
I mean, that is mental. We see a lot of these professional athletes come out of the water 8 minutes down and they end up DNFing just because the race is out of their hands at that point. So for Cam to come out of the water 8 minutes down, check his box for Kona, I mean, he would have been top 5 if he would have had just a little bit of a better swim. So, I mean, if you're an athlete and Cam's coming out in your group in Nice, guy can ride a bike, hang on.
Yeah. So, Chapeau of the Week by 2 votes to 1 and 1. All good candidates, to be fair, but goes to Kristian Hogenhaug.
Boom.
Riding the QR Ironman branded bike, baby.
Montana Road,
Fastest
great
bike split.
All right.
Phenomenal.
Honorable mentions from the races this weekend was 70.3 Nice, won by Martin Van Riel and Jess Learmonth. You also had people getting their last slots for 70.3 World Champs, which will go to those two. Challenge Walchis, which is one of the most beautiful races in Europe, won by Lauren Jansen and
Brilliant. He's just
Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark.
James, as the guest, you have to read that name.
I can't even see it. I've not got my glasses on.
Oh my gosh. Come on, James. Let's hear you say it because I think you dogged on us for pronouncing names bad.
Oh, Jebby Kindau. I reckon that's
Jebby
better than any was.
That's pretty good.
I'll have a go.
And then the other gold level race this weekend was ITU World Triathlon Long Distance World Championship in Pontevedra, Spain, won by Marjolaine Pierre and Antonio Benito.
I already announced their win on the last week's show.
Oh, you did?
I said
before we even started.
Yeah, I said congratulations on your world titles last week.
I saw obviously the results from this, and I'm like, oh, we got it on record. That was just
Hold
a foregone conclusion.
Just out of curiosity, because I upgraded my Instagram bio, I wrote that I'm a 2025 world champion. So
In what? Oklahoma Thunder Supporters Club world champion?
yeah, which title you think is bigger? Me winning a world championship or long course world championship?
I don't want to take away from, and I like, and I'm happy for Antonio, and Marjolaine, but point received.
You know what Lionel would say? He would say that my win is more important than his world championship win at long course worlds.
Yeah, but I think, like, just for 1 second, it's good for sponsors, and it's bigger in Europe than it is the rest of the world. BMC will love it for Antonio Benito Lopez. Good for him taking it off, and Marjolaine Pierre. You know, sometimes as an athlete with big sponsors, you do just need to bag wins. Yeah. So why not go bag a world title? So fair play to those both.
Yeah. And it is a gold level race. So
should we move on to the races that are happening this weekend?
I think Roth is too big for us to cover. I think you guys
We're not going to do Roth.
Yeah, okay.
Because we'll just tee Roth now quickly. We are in Roth. We're in a homestay. I feel bad, and I know her niece will listen to this now. We've arrived, and they do the homestays here, right? She definitely was expecting some top-tier professional athletes to come stay with her, preferably with some German language under their belt. What they've got is 2 chubby English guys and a chubby American guy roll up to stay in her lovely attic apartment she's got here with Zwei große Bierbitter as the full extent of their German between them. So thank you to Roth for putting us up. Thank you to Erica for hosting us.
Yeah.
And we will be doing live show on Thursday. Kyle will be banging out all the usual race week content. It is going to be mentally good, Roth. I've never been. James is the only one that experienced here. So we will cover Roth through this week. Don't think we're neglecting it.
Also, just to announce to everyone, I've pushed out of doing the race, and so Mark's going to be carrying the Pro Tri News banner.
Mark is really, really happy about that.
So,
are you racing, Mark?
No, I am going to complete Roth. I'm going to do, for the first time in my life, and I've done maybe 100 triathlons, I'm going to get around the course in as whatever time it takes me to have fun and get round. Because to be quite honest, I'm really, really unfit, and I've buggered my back. So please don't be banging me on the track or expecting anything from it. I am going to go and have fun, but I will finish this bloody race.
Last time you did an Ironman, did you have fun?
I had fun when I saw you, except James saw me in Talon when I was absolutely dying of death and went, you could go into sub 9, by the way. I was like, oh, fuck's sake. I had to run it in.
So, yeah, we'll be doing a live show, pump it out on socials and everywhere else. The race that we will not be talking about will be the 70.3 European Championship, which has a pretty diluted field, I would say.
Should we just say it's mental that the 70.3 European Champs isn't a Pro Series race?
Yeah, that's wild.
Why not just make one of those the European Champs? They've got Swansea, they've got loads.
Should have just done Swansea.
Yeah, or make this a Pro Series race.
Yeah. So you have on the women's side, Caroline Pohl, Laura Madsen, both people who are on T100 contracts that haven't done a T100 race yet. You also got Lena Meisner, Natalie Van Coverden, Marlene de Boer. I mean, it's a pretty good field. On the men's side, you got Harry Palmer, Robert Callan, German Priester, who is a short course athlete that is now coming over to do some middle distance stuff.
What race is
Sam
this?
Dickinson, 70.3 European Championship in Sweden. It's a gold tier race.
It's mad. Yeah. It's mental that it's I think this is an oversight by IRONMAN. The European Champs is a big race normally. It should be a Pro Series race. Tallinn was, for instance, last year, the European Champs and a Pro Series race. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't have
That's
it.
pretty much it. Like, it's not like super.
They should have kept it at Elsinore.
Elsinore.
Yeah, I think
Really?
that was a good race,
Mm.
and they moved it. I think they don't want. What was it? Yeah, move on. Sorry, but yeah, Elsinore was the, I think, the 70.3
For a long time.
Yeah, up
Holly,
until about 3 years ago.
has won it, and a whole bunch of athletes.
Yeah.
Like good athletes been there.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We got a bunch of hot takes that got submitted. We'll just bang through these as quickly as possible. Top of the list was for me submitted because everyone knows that I love shoes. For the last 4 years we've been doing the podcast, I've talked about shoes. 3 of the top 8 were wearing the Pumas this weekend.
They didn't look great on the cobbles around Frankfurt run course. There's a lot of cobble areas.
Yeah.
And I was filming from like the rear, if you like.
Yeah.
And you could see the foot placements, and that soft sponge on the shoes doesn't like the cobbles. You saw a lot of feet sliding around. It'd be interesting to hear what the athlete's point of view.
Can I just say it?
Say it, Pat.
How many there were, how we said 3 of the top 8 were wearing them?
Yeah.
How many of those 2 were wearing it because they saw somebody else wearing it in St. George?
That's the thing that a lot of people don't notice, because the amount of messages we got, everyone's like, oh, he's wearing it because Manuel Messias. And Magnus actually wore them before Manuel Messias did. He wore them in St. George.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I love Magnus. If I'm looking at like run splits and I'm looking at Magnus's St. George run split and I'm looking at Manuel Messias's run split,
You're such a dick.
I'm taking a little
We ain't
more
wrong.
advice from him.
But I don't know how many people like those Pumas, because I've heard some mixed feedback about them. So
No, I mean, if you were following them in running, basically from November of last year to a couple months ago, the pro athletes that were running in them were all dropping PRs. Didn't matter, male, female, didn't really even matter the distance. They were all just completely lighting up PR. So I think that was kind of the first of it. And then I don't know, the triathlon side, I'm a little bit biased, but I think there's a huge majority that observe what Magnus is doing and then go, he's put a lot of time and energy into that decision-making process. I might just copy it and save the time and money.
Yeah. So interesting thing that we noticed this weekend was the Pumas. Number 2, Europe is better than the USA at triathlon and culture.
Certainly culture, not just in sport, but all culture.
And food.
And expensive water.
Very good. I'm joking. We do domestic triathlon really well. You do grand stage exhibitions really well, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, but like Kona, like Talbot said perfectly, is
Yeah.
the absolute pinnacle. But triathlon's just huge in Germany. It's just massive. That's why Laura Philipp and Patrick Langer are on Sports Personality of the Year on mainstream TV shows when they win, and Brits and Americans aren't. So no wonder it's great here in Germany, right?
But fun fact on YouTube, on Lionel's analytics, the second most watched country in all of the countries is Germany.
So Pat, he needs to come over here and do a race. Number 3, did we jinx Rudy Von Berg?
Yeah, we
Because we have never picked him, and then all of us pick him, and then
he fucked it. Yeah, we did.
We jinxed him. So
we gotta own that one. We're sorry.
Don't worry, Rudy. We all think you're going to be shit in Nice.
Yeah.
So
we won't pick you in.
We won't pick you in Nice.
And you're welcome.
Yeah.
If Hogan Hog won, would we be talking more about the lead motos?
Well, I think we fucking talked about them enough.
Yeah.
I think we talked about them a lot. Yeah.
Next, someone asked, what is the actual rule for giving splits and coaching during a race? The
All right.
rule is 2 feet firmly planted on the ground, right, Pat?
And you can leapfrog as much as you want, but when you speak to the athlete, both your feet have to be on the ground. You can't be coasting on a bike next to him. You can't be running next to him. You got to pull over, get off your bike, put your feet on the ground, and don't move. Simple as that.
I've actually had arguments with referees about it because I've been to races on run courses where I've seen Cat 40 times because I'm leapfrogging, but I'm seen on the coverage just slamming my bike down, standing still, doing it.
Yeah.
There's no rule against that. If you've got a problem with it, just be a better spectator.
Yeah.
Insider tip: if you're wanting to echo your voice, there's always lots of cones on course. Go find a cone, just stand right where the cone's at, yell through the cone, and they will hear you from a mile away, and then set it right back down.
Talbot, you definitely don't need a cone.
My wife will tell you that too. She said I talk way too loud.
All right. We didn't get to talk about this, but the T100 has now taken away the race in Vegas and is now going to be in conjunction with the WTCS World Championship in Wollongong.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely love it. There was 14.5 people at the race in Vegas last year, and there will be thousands of people standing on the course in Wollongong. I've been there for 70.3 Worlds. Phenomenal event. It's unfortunate it got moved. I don't think any of us are surprised. Logistics are a nightmare, especially around Vegas. Good
So
call,
we need to cover the good first, right? And I want to echo this a little bit. The other reason why it's good is that there's actually a surplus of demand for hosting a World Series Grand Final. And so I think that the fact that Wollongong was able to accommodate this is fantastic. It obviously isn't a great look that it's July 1st and in 4.5 months we're moving a race from Las Vegas to Australia. So this is really inconvenient. The issue is it's the bad now is this is the kind of stuff that we've come to expect from T100. Even if this, I think, is a move in the right direction, the timing of it and how it was facilitated couldn't be worse, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer today. I just think, like, I was thinking about this earlier today. It would be really great if we got a little bit of an update, even publicly, like a current state of the union. Sorry, they're playing cards at my where I'm doing this in a different location.
You're in the freaking Midwest, Pat.
Yeah. I just think we could use a little bit of a state of the union on where the T100 is right now. And I think there's a lot of athletes that called me that I don't represent, but called me for advice on this move. And I just said, look, man, like, what do you expect? And I wish that we had a little bit clearer signal moving forward that said, look, the money's guaranteed, the money's locked. This is what we're doing to move forward. We know we've got some growing pains. Please plan for these next 3 things to happen in the future. And the issue is we're just not getting that. And that makes me a little fearful, even though I do want to stress, I love the idea. I'm going to be in Wollongong anyway. I love the idea now that there's a T100 race there. I think it's amazing.
You're going to be at the race.
This is, dude, we are Pro Tri News. We go to as many races as we can possibly
get to all the races. It's
so
crazy.
I just think that this is the right thing to happen, and this is the correct evolution. I'm actually going to be in Frejus as well. It's just the way it's being rolled out is lackluster at best.
I think I agree. It's perfect to be alongside them. Wollongong will make a magnificent race. I actually don't have much sympathy for athletes that have missed some of the first couple of races, were planning on this, and it now messes with their season. Because we've said it consistently, you have to bank races early, especially when T100 have shown they have form for cancelling races or moving races. You cannot schedule into your plan, I only have room in my schedule for these exact 5 races, or it messes it up. Because A, you're not really prioritizing the series if you've got no flexibility in your plan and you only plan on doing 5 anyway. And B, I just think you've shown no forethought based on the learned experience of what the T100 does. Like, the athletes didn't have to sign the contract either. I saw comments like, how can they force them to go to Australia? They can't. Don't sign the contract. Don't go to the race. It's, like, these athletes all have a choice. So yeah, I just think it's a reminder, like, if you're going to race a season, you have to bank early races. You had to do South Africa or Texas in the Ironman series. You have to do Singapore. You needed to do San Francisco or Vancouver. Like, you can't afford to sit on races and plan to back end it all because something will come up.
This is a thing that really just chaps me because I feel for the age groupers that they map out their season a year in advance or even 6 months in advance and be like, oh, I guess I'll do a T100 race. Let me just read to you when this was announced September 17th of last year, what the T100 schedule for 2025 was going to be. Singapore was supposed to be April 12th through the 13th, which did not happen. French Riviera was supposed to be May 16th through the 18th. That also changed. San Francisco was still correct. London was supposed to be August 2nd and 3rd, which is incorrect. It was supposed to be Ibiza, September 27th. Wrong. Lake Las Vegas was supposed to be 25th through 26th of October. Wrong. Dubai was it just says Dubai T100 November. So I'll give him some credit for that. But when you look at this, like, you really only had 2 races that you're like, oh, this is good. We're going to make this happen. And it's like, as a spectator and or the T100 wants to get into these age group racing, like, how can you trust anything they say?
It's almost like Ironman and Challenge are quite good at what they do. And it's not easy.
It's almost like Pat, Mark, and James and myself aren't bothered by this because neither of us have a real job.
I would go as far as saying Mark's thoroughly amused by this.
Kyle's the only one here with a real job that's trying to go to the circuit and buying stuff.
That's the thing, is I'm like trying to balance all my PTO days, and I'm like, frick, I don't know when these fucking T100 races are going to be, so I don't even know if I can go to them.
You got Pat and Mark who are like, where's my wife racing this next week? All right, I'm going. And you got James and I who are like, who's paying us to go to which race? All right, we're going.
Here's the thing, right? Is that it's just there's been this scheduling chaos with the T100 is the nicest way to describe it. The only thing that we're getting out of it this year that I'm really happy about is there's now going to be their races are going to be in tandem with 2 World Series, which I think this will only actually help both series. What's the third one, Kyle?
Well, there's a World Cup, I guess, technically.
Where's that?
Valencia.
Oh, there's a World Cup that weekend too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just think so. We'll call it 2.5. I think that this is a great alignment between World Triathlon and T100. That I'm excited about. The rollout process of it is chaotic.
Dog water.
is so
dog water.
They know this. It's just like we could after. I think, you know, they're still late on some payments from last year. They could come out with a more public State of the Union and say, like,
supposedly they're paying the end of series bonus within the next 2 weeks. So,
I mean, yeah, it doesn't. The problem is it doesn't help that the CEO hasn't been on the last 2 board calls either, and so it's just like when I hear some of this stuff, it's a little bit, it's concerning for me.
I've been eating rice and gone off tuna for the last 2 months, waiting for that end of series paycheck to come through.
Whatever. This guy. All right. Now that we've landed the plane on T100 Wollongong, the next one is, should we mic up the technical officials on course?
Yes.
We have to.
Take.
Wow.
They should have a camera, front-mounted GoPro, and they should be mic'd up. Yeah. And I want to hear Magnus tell him to fuck off. It's crystal clear audio.
Next one, Ironman needs pro refs, not ones from Federation.
Not possible. Can't afford them. And the Federation ones go through a professional course. I mean, like first division. Bloody NFL refs are amateurs, aren't they?
Yeah. No.
Come on.
I just think, but Mark, that goes back to what we talked about. The certification process in this, just like the rules, needs to be made much more clear. And there needs to be the removal of the gray space. So I think a professionalism of that certification would do.
You could just have a professional writing the rules in the first place.
Hello.
Moving on to if Hayden Wild makes it back for the French T100 race, he can win the series. I would say true. I talked to Hayden today for a little bit because his girlfriend Hannah's doing 70.3 Swansea, and his recovery is coming on pretty good. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he raced London, but he probably will rein it in and do it at the French Riviera race.
Mad. if he does that mad.
He's also doing riding gravel from London to Swansea on a little 2-day trip before the race.
I don't. Is there gravel between London and Swansea? Probably.
Sure, you can find it.
There's enough potholes anyway.
He could head out along the high-speed 2 railway that's been built for 9 years and is definitely still gravel.
This one might be rhetorical. What professional sport has a disqualification been rectified?
Lots.
Lionel's cross.
There would have. No. Been. Well,
I mean, you're disqualified and then you're allowed to. You're undisqualified. Has that ever happened before?
Formula One.
I'm sure there would.
Yeah, Formula One. Yeah.
Formula One that's happened.
Yeah, there would have been a ton in motorsports.
Yeah.
There would have been. I mean, and there would have been a bunch of calls overturned in stick and ball sports too. So
we already said this on the pod, but Magnus Ditlev no longer has the bike advantages that he used to. Everyone else has caught him up.
If I'm Magnus Ditlev and I'm firing my aero team, I'm never going back to the tunnel I was ever going to. I'm probably looking to leave Scott. I'd call my manager and say, get rid of Scott, switch to QR next week. And
Rudy Project helmet, got to get that on.
Rudy Project helmet. And then I'm calling the best biker in all of triathlon and Denmark.
Next one.
How do you really feel about it?
I was just trying to get a reaction out of Pat, and he didn't even do
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's worried just yet.
Kristian Blummenfelt winning everything is bad for the sport.
Go on. James, take this. Podcasting.
No, I think he's I think he's great for the sport, especially when it comes to activating these brands. He's really good at activating all his sponsors as well.
And he loves talking to the fans.
He loves talking to the fans. After the race the other day, we're on the finish. Actually, you were there as well. We're in the finish compound at the back there.
Yeah.
Doing all the selfies.
Signing people's
shirts. Yeah, it was part of it. He loved every time he wins a race and he's part of that. He loved being in the crowd, getting the fans reactions and that kind of thing. He's great for the sport.
He's been in my mind he's part of these viral moments of the sport, whether it's like this clip of him running where he looks incredible the other day, or on the other side of that, he's coming out of the porta potty. He's coming, he's blowing chunks in Kona. He has these moments that humanize him, and even his interactions with the fans are so delightful and genuine. My guys compete against Kristian. I can personally, the card game is incredible. I can only root for Kristian.
100%.
That's how I feel about it. I can only root for him.
I don't know if it's online. It might be online. Go and have a look at the IRONMAN Frankfurt press conference that they did. And Paul Kay brings up the porta potty gate, if you like, from last year, and Kristian goes into a little bit of depth there. It's quite funny. I mean, even Scott Deroux and his right-hand man Matthew as well on the front row of the press conference. I mean, Scott's almost in tears, laughing at
Kristian's like, have you ever dumped a 1-liter bottle upside down? He's like, that's what it was like.
Yeah, James's answer was perfect. And if you're just listening to the audio and not watching the video, we were all just nodding in agreement. He's great for the sport.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one. Should KB go to Swansea?
Do you guys think KB, he's listening to this right now, you think he's smiling ear to ear right now?
Of course.
We're just gassing him up.
Of course he is. He loves a good tire pump. Come on, who wouldn't?
He's still a pat rat though, isn't
he? The Swansea start list came out. Kristian Blummenfelt wasn't on it, so I guess he's not chasing his perfect score.
I called him for a perfect score, didn't I?
Why would you? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
He's going to have a perfect score. 70.3 worlds. He's going to have more than a perfect score.
Yeah, that's
He's
good.
He's going to have a perfect score.
Yeah.
No, I'm jumping in there. I'm calling bullshit.
I agree with that.
You guys are all going to die except for Talbot. Mark my words.
Lionel Sanders wins 70.3 worlds. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, you know what? We're gonna clip Mark saying that.
That's the real deal right there. That's the real deal right there.
I generally thought Lionel had retired.
No.
I knew we invited you on for a reason.
No. I think we'll talk about that later in the year, but I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna have everybody hold the phone right there.
Okay.
There's only reason Talbot came over to Europe to snag some European athletes now for his pod, for his YouTube.
Okay, 3 more hot takes. Ready? Number 1, Patrick Lange only shows up at World Champs.
Yeah,
True.
fine.
Yeah, but who cares?
I bet,
Yeah,
I bet he goes to bed perfectly happy.
Yes.
Oh no, I've only won 3 world
Okay,
titles.
this one could be controversial. Technically, over the weekend, Kristian Hogenhag biked the fastest Ironman
Short.
because it's short.
It
2K.
was like it was more than that short on most people's. It was 176, something like that.
2 to 4K short.
This is why I don't care about records, and Talbot is the best one to talk about this. Individual split records and stuff. It's just so subjective. It was 176 on a lot. Like, I don't care. It was one of the most impressive bike rides I've ever seen.
Some of the professional athletes we even talked to, some of them, they were split on it. Some of them were like, it's an Ironman bike course. Like,
yeah, it should be. He
but then
has the record.
some people were like, it wasn't 180K.
Yeah,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I don't know if you guys tuned in and watched. I don't know the athlete's name. I apologize. The female.
They did the mile, and it was a
They
bit
did
short.
the mile.
Faith.
Could you imagine if they
Ellen
just made it a
Briggs?
little bit shorter and she would have broke 4 minutes? No, it's not standard. So who cares?
It was one of the
This is-
most impressive bikes I've ever seen in triathlon, but I don't really believe there are such things as these standalone records. is my
That's
take.
where it was an insanely good ride. We got to treat this like a bike race and say this was an insanely good ride. That's kind of then where it stops. We don't get to compare it to anything else because it was 4K short, and that's not us bagging on Ironman. That's just saying let's recognize the performance, and then we kind of got to stop there.
Just move on.
Yep.
The last hot take, we have the best fans. Who wrote this?
I mean, I wrote that. It's so true. Kyle, can you remind me of the girl's name that I would pronounce it wrong that we met in the lobby at the hotel?
Give me
Bonnie Blue.
No! Jeez Louise.
Frankfurt.
Oh my gosh.
No, I want to do a layup on that. A double click and just say,
yeah. While Kyle's getting her name,
I'm
this
Lavanya?
athlete, Lavanya. Okay, she's from India. She traveled. She's been going to college for like over 100 years. She's like the smartest brain wizard out there. She's from India. She traveled all the way to Frankfurt to do the race, and she listens. She said her favorite part of the week on Trade for Triathlon is listening to our podcast, and it was such a pleasure meeting us and all that. And it just makes it so rewarding to hear that so many people listen to the podcast. We seriously, we wouldn't do this without you guys. What are you gonna say, Pat?
No, same thing. I mean, I've been at a bike race the last 3 days, and I've gotten pulled aside and said, "Man, I just love listening to the pod." So I want to say thank you to those people that have recognized our effort to coordinate getting on every week, because coordinating to get on is probably the most. It's not the most inconvenient part, but it's not.
I have to say, you do a great job. And I was actually asking Cal the other day, when's the Frankfurt pod out? And I'm actually on it. It's really so surreal.
I will. The last thing to add there is thank you for bearing with us a day or two after some of these races that we go to, because invariably when we go to races, it makes it harder for us to then coordinate all 4 of us to do a pod straight after. We do it because then we can do live pods at the races and we can do content from the races and learn about the races. But invariably it means we drop a day or 2 later.
Yeah,
I agree with you on a lot of things, Mark, but I disagree on this one. I want it at 8:30 Sunday night every week after the race.
No, we know that everybody does. Yeah, so that's a really good point.
If I could, I know. I mean, the fans are so nice, and they always come up to us and say hey and all that. If I could just offer a little bit of advice when you come up and say hey to us. It's always so awkward when you don't even know who Kat Matthews is, but you know who Mark Matthews is, and you go up and introduce yourselves to Mark. You don't even know that Gwen Jorgensen's standing next to you, and she won an Olympic medal, and you're like, Pat, I love the podcast. So
I love it. Fuck it. Keep doing it.
That's like Mark and I were talking. We were like, this poor lady, she's like hosting us. She probably thinks that we're like some famous triathlete or something. It's like,
we do a podcast.
We do a podcast. We're pretty famous, I guess. So,
right.
Thanks to everyone for listening. If you're here in Roth this weekend, come to the live show. We'll be on the main stage on Thursday at 3:30 p.m. And then if you're in Swansea, we're also coordinating a live show for that. So if you're going to be in the UK for that race, get ready for it. We're going to some more races. Talbot, Close us out.
Yeah. Just want to thank James for coming on. James is just like me. He knows all these athletes. He's always around them, always shooting content of them. I'm just the annoying one that goes and tells all their secrets that they tell me. James just keeps them all inside. So thanks for coming on, James. Most importantly, can't thank you guys enough again. Kyle and I were chatting the other day. We have been to almost every freaking Ironman Pro Series event, but 3 this year so far. We have so many more races to go to. We love seeing you all at the races. Come and give us a shout if you are. If you are listening online, we would love for you to drop a review, whether it's on Spotify or Apple or whatever, and share this episode with someone else that you enjoy triathlon training with. We'll see you at the next one.